Welcome to Pulse of Tech by SEEP, Pune's leading technology podcast from SEEP, the city's premier platform for tech organizations, delivering cutting-edge discussions and insights. In our last segment, we heard the compelling story of Dr. Prashant Pansare's journey as an accidental entrepreneur and the challenges he conquered. Now, as we continue, we'll shift our focus to Digital India, the nation's remarkable steps towards growth, and Dr. Pansare's unique perspectives on these transformative changes. Let's pick up right where we left off.
So you spoke about Digital India, right? And India is emerging as an economic superpower as well now, right? And Niti Aayog is taking several steps in that direction. You've worked with them. How do you see Digital India growing in that direction and taking us to the next level of evolution of India's tech ecosystem?
Yeah, well, that's quite a deep question, and the way I look at these things, and the point that I mentioned is India is emerging on the global AI horizon.
Yeah.
And there are several initiatives, whether it is Niti Aayog, Digital India program, where if you have heard of National Supercomputing Mission, right? It is something that India is moving towards the self-reliance and data sovereignty. How can we have the computational infrastructure autonomy?
Okay.
And let me give you some pointers so that the points that I want to make later on will be better for our audience as well. Is if you look at the AI infrastructure, which is going to be future, at the bottom you have hyperscalers and the baseline computational infrastructure, which is dominated by most of the hyperscalers and hardware makers, whether it is CPU, GPUs put together either in the data centers or the clouds. So that actually creates the baseline infrastructure for your compute, AI and otherwise. But going forward, AI is going to be predominant workload that is going to be handling it. And then on top of it, now you have in the AI context the LLMs.
Correct.
Many countries, not only the companies, are building their own LLMs so that they have the better way and governance over the AI. In Indian context, it is very dynamic and has a huge potential because Indian LLM will actually need language localization, regionalization as well, and we also have our very own institutions like CDAC, who also has done a lot of linguistic technological disruptions, whether it is Bhashini or whether it is language localization, and how that has been made available, right? Sometimes we actually see by multinational companies some apps which are on mobile and they become popular, but we don't really understand the technologies that go behind it. So if you are really looking at the localization and regionalization, the Bhashini initiative by Government of India has a huge potential to localize every citizen service that is available in a digitized way in a completely citizen service in the local language.
Okay.
Right? And then how do you port those services? So you definitely need your own LLM which is country specific. But what happens is that you have the hyperscalers and computational baseline infrastructure. Then on top of it you have the LLMs. Then you have the application layer or application platforms, and then on top of it you have your AI applications.
AI applications. Correct.
So if you look at generally India tech ecosystem so far, the way it has evolved is in the upper layers as a service provider.
Correct.
So what you are doing
we
is
spoke
that
about in the beginning, you were saying.
That's right. So what happens is that because we were that way started catching up on the semiconductor and electronics and hardware manufacturing a little late, but we have started catching up fast and furious, and we are also getting into some of those downline areas. But in the applications and the AI usage part of it, we are service providers. And then that perfectly complements, it has created a huge opportunity for India globally, but you still have a huge dependency on only few of the companies in the world for tech infrastructure, ability to process your data inside the infrastructure.
Okay.
And hence right now if you actually see globally, everybody is talking about AI infrastructure and AI as a service. but that is basically coming as an infrastructure service.
Okay.
Now, when you want to build a software intelligent layer that can help you do that, the LLM is not only the software in isolation. AI is a team sport. Everybody will contribute and everybody will be benefited, right? So, how can you look at, and some of the emergence of LLM is actually coming a disruption to break the monopoly of some of the traditional legacy companies, is that how can you use a commodity hardware and commodity computational resources to address your LLM based AI queries.
Okay.
Right? And you might have some general queries and referential queries, so that in case if your queries need some really deep learning data pointers to be pulled, probably only that portion you will be dependent on some computational intensive infrastructure.
Okay.
Which means it's like .com boom and bust. Now in bust, what happened? Internet became almost free for everyone and available, right? So it was a democratization of internet. What is happening in recent months is that there is a huge likelihood of AI infrastructure boom, and I would not call it as a burst, but rationalization in a manner where you start using commodity hardware for your consumption for AI, and that will popularize AI consumption even more.
Yeah.
Now, if it has to be done that way, then understand you can't have only foreign language models or only some social media based intelligence from some countries actually helping you in localizing and regionalizing, right?
Yeah.
How can you
need
think?
to have your own infrastructure ready for that as well, right?
So one is infrastructure, then once infrastructure layer is built, then I am now talking about the AI app layer.
Okay.
So there you have to think locally and act globally. So the think
Very
locally
well
is
said.
that if I want to give a citizen service to some citizens in Pune, then I better give them option first of Marathi and then English and then Hindi as well, right? So that is a localization that we are talking about, local citizens, globally local citizens, right? Now, how you train your machine learning models and bots to converse in Marathi, because if you have simply your mobile phone where you just press the button of a mic and you say that माझं इलेक्ट्रिसिटीचं बिल जास्ती आलेलं आहे आणि मी त्याच्याबद्दल काय करू, right? You are simply giving a voice command to your mobile phone through a citizen service app for an energy utility department of a municipal corporation. Can that be translated and then with your phone number that authenticates your consumer ID for your MSCB, give you the trend pattern and analysis, and probably, oh, it is a summertime, your consumption of AC is more, that's why your bill this time is 40% more. So self-service citizen query resolution using AI app.
Oh.
Right? So when you're looking at these kind of use cases, see, tech-wise it is fascinating, and what is happening is that most of the time our engineers, genius engineers, are solving these problems only for Western world. Right? You solve that problem globally.
Yeah.
In tech, you're just, it's a problem worth solving globally.
Okay.
So now if you want to solve that problem in Maharashtra, you better have your LLM support in Marathi. But Marathi LLM support is not going to solve your problem in Kerala or in Punjab.
So localized LLMs you are talking about more, right?
Now, when you are talking about that localization, which is a next step, but you need first that computational infrastructure. Then you need an innovation ecosystem.
Okay.
And then you can actually split that, and then you do a lot of things in a different way. Okay. Let me give you some more examples. One of the most talked example in India's digital public infrastructure is UPI. And it's a story that has gone spiral and viral all over the world.
It's a revolution worldwide.
Absolutely. Right? Now, if you apply design thinking principles in UPI, so there is one part which was played by the government. UPI also was accelerated by the lockdowns.
That's true.
It was further revolutionized by demonetization, because the agenda there was to convert the cash economy into digital currency, and these things were actually giving the push. Now what that has resulted into, let me give you two statistics. First is mobile internet penetration in India that created that last mile connectivity and the power in the hands of citizens. So India is 140 crore population. We have roughly about 95 to maybe now 100 crore smartphone users in India, and India has roughly about 150 active SIM cards, right? And India is world's cheapest mobile internet economy with almost roughly about 12 rupees per GB data. Now with this, what has happened
in the entire world?
Yes, yes, and this is as per the Government of India's recent statistics.
Okay.
Now what that has done is that everybody has their own device, BYOD. Whether you are consuming citizen services or banking application, now you don't need a dedicated hardware. Bring your own device, download the app, authenticate it, and you are ready for transaction.
Yeah.
Right. So the last mile connectivity has given us that inclusivity. Right. So digital is actually helping us in bridging the gap between India and Bharat. So that is the spirit of digital India. If you understand it in that sense. Now what has happened is that with so much of a mobile internet traffic that is happening, and we want to solve the problem of say payment gateways, now look at that, with this kind of a internet penetration, with bringing your own devices, India has roughly about 45 to 48 crore of users on UPI. And these users on UPI are doing roughly about 6,000 transactions per second.
Which is massive.
You can imagine, right? Calculate per day, per month, per year, and it is happening real time in India, and that has become a global case study. Now, take one company out of this, right, which is actually leading this revolution with 48% of the market share, right? And that company actually is processed, it has processed almost 75,000 lakh transactions in last year. And if I get my statistics ready, they have processed more than 1,02,000 crores of the transactions on their one single company's platform that holds 48% of the market share. You can imagine.
Yeah.
Now, if this is actually giving us inclusivity, hence India need digital. Digital means more data. More data means more potential and appetite for AI. Everything is interlinked.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we've been, in our previous episodes, we've been talking about AI in general in terms of how these LLMs are evolving and all of it. And in this one, we are going a step back of where these insights to these LLMs come from, right? So it's very interesting for me to listen to what, and I'm sure for all our audience as well, that where does these LLM learn things from, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what happens is that, let me take this UPI example little one step ahead. Upline Design Thinking, one of the Indian fintech company, what was the revolution they brought in is that you simply create an account on their mobile app, and then they provided you QR code, you scan it and you pay it.
Yeah.
So you imagine, of this process which we enjoy now, right? And not only we as a consumer enjoy, but the merchant also, enjoys, because what he is actually getting is that first autonomy.
People all over the world are amazed by when they see those QR codes, right? On every merchant, rather every individual now. You and me have a QR code on our apps.
Absolutely.
And then they are like amazed by the kind of transactions, direct bank-to-bank payments which we do with that.
Absolutely. So in fact, purposely I want to give you a very consumer example.
Yeah.
Because we talk about the technology and the AI in the context of enterprise, but today is the world of consumerism.
Correct.
It's not the manufacturer, it's not the value creator alone that is dominating the world, but it is the consumer that is actually driving the AI agenda more and more. And let me give you this example. If you go to have a Golgappas, Pani Puri on a thela. So what happens is that the QR code scanning innovation, how did it simplified the user life? Is that if you give him, after enjoying your Pani Puri, maybe a 500 rupee note, to give you a change back, he has to stop his work, find the change, get it, or maybe get in an argument with you. Instead of, and if his window is that 6 to 8:30 is the 2.5 hours he is actually serving, how can he maximize customer service and collection? So what he's doing is that he's only serving it, and then you say, Bhaiya kitna hua? He only says that 25 rupees, and then give you the QR code. You go yourself, scan the QR code, tap it with your OTP, and then 25 रुपए प्राप्त हुए, customer delight to the merchant.
Correct.
Right? Now that actually gives him more ability to service more customers.
Got it.
Interestingly, now what has happened is that when we talk about UPI revolution, in India there are about 400 banks and fintech companies now who are in this bandwagon.
Okay.
But what is happening is that today banks don't have an intelligence of these transactions, that who is consuming what, where, and what is their pattern of spending. You know, data science is actually all about identifying the patterns, right? Okay. So that you can build your synthesis around that.
Yeah, okay.
So today what is happening is that there are certain tech startups, suddenly they have emerged from nowhere to everywhere. They have a huge intelligence, and then for the banks you are going only for the KYC.
Yeah.
But many transactions are happening only at the digital wallet. Now they don't have that intelligence that whether this merchant, what is his daily collection and what can be his CIBIL score and lending ability, so that I can give him some loan because he is into a good decent level of income. They don't know it. So what has happened is that in that sense, some banks have missed the boat of digital revolution as well as AI revolution. Now they're trying to catch up fast and furious.
Okay.
You get my point?
Yeah.
So in today's world, it's not the big fish that eats the small fish, but it is the faster fish that beats the slower fish.
Good analogy actually. So I know I can talk to you and you would be happy talking to us about data the entire day, right? I can speak to you about data the entire day. The kind of insights you provide about different kinds of data, different insights from those data it's so inspiring and interesting. But I would now want to talk to you about you. So this all these all different hats which you have been wearing, right? We spoke about Digital India, academics, to companies. How did it evolve like this? And what would be very interesting to know how a typical day for you look like.
Okay, how did it evolve? Probably it comes to me naturally because I'm a born Punekar. It actually, when my day starts, generally I start my day early, and first, when I'm going to the office, trying to catch up with, all the things, catching up with the teams, then plans and priorities, looking at, some of the customer priority and preferences. For me, it's like thinking like a farmer, right? When you're thinking about different seasons and what should be your plan of activity, it actually happens naturally to them after some time.
Yeah.
It's being a CEO of, say, 2 tech companies, it's actually like thinking like a chef. Every day you are actually going to your work, you're thinking of a new dish, right? How you're going to, serve that as a recipe. For us, actually, it is only a data business. And my personal philosophy of looking at data is that I always say that data is not an oil, it is a new soil. Because oil, once it is used, it is evaporated. But if you look at data as a soil, you can cultivate your ideas, and the applications can be humongous. And data actually will give you an appetite to think like a farmer.
Yeah.
How can you, co-create some value? And it's not only sowing, but sowing and reaping, there are so many, things that you have to do in between. And that is the philosophy with which, you built up this as a business. I am being not only born Punekar, but stayed Punekar with choice. Okay. For some personal family reasons, I thought that, okay, I'm born here and I'm very happy to be here. Though I travel, but most of my career I have always been in Pune with choice. It was not because of lack of opportunity or anything.
I'm sure.
But it was, being
your
here.
choice, it's not, by chance, right?
In fact, that actually gave me a huge opportunity and potential that for some reasons, if I have decided to be in Pune, then how can I create something here, right? And then after receiving so many awards and accolades, I don't think that these awards were only for the tech genius, but it was basically the purpose behind it, that why we are trying to build it. And somebody asked me that, Prashant, getting a national award or probably, Aegis Graham Bell Award, CIA National AI Award for Innovation, how are you being able to make it?
Yeah.
My honest answer to them when I smiled at them and I said, you are asking a runner a question that अरे आप रेस में पहले आए हो, मैं बोलता हूँ कि लोग कितने थे, अभी तो हम अकेले ही दौड़ रहे हैं. Because most of the companies are actually either behind.
That's the humble side of you speaking, right?
See, because most of the companies are either chasing that per hour dollar rate for international market.
Yeah.
Or if I talk about the startup community, they're only looking at building the MVP, exit, making one-time money.
Yes, it's all about exit, right?
Well, it's being in the game.
Yeah. I mean, no, the new tech companies, right, or whoever startups, right? They also have to devise an exit strategy when they are doing the pitch as well, right?
Yeah, probably, my thinking is little traditional, orthodox, you may say, in the, entrepreneur world. It's like you don't get into the marriage thinking that, okay, what can be the potential exit, right? How you want to enjoy life, not just a job, not just a paycheck, not just a career, but career is part of life. Right? Choose your passion rather than choosing pension. And there are so many artists, talented people, they give their life for their cause or passion or interest, and they make a good life out of it.
Correct.
Unfortunately, many genius brains don't understand. They think that, okay, let me only encash. Right? You may have a good bank balance, but are you really enjoying that bank balance with your mental, physical fitness? Or it's just the number that you are chasing for, and hence I made that statement that even if you win in the rat race, you end up being a rat. For us, it was like when India is rising, digital India has a huge potential, and trust me, it is all good business decision to be in India, to also bootstrapping company from here, also look at the domestic market. In fact, we recently have successfully executed our BI to AI project for India is one of the biggest, largest port. And they have done that concept to completion on their ERP environment. We have integrated 14 subject areas into, the chairman's office cockpit. And that has, being successfully delivered in a record time. It's truly made in India technology initiative there. Now that has a huge potential. Okay. Now when we look at, and Maharashtra is aspiring to become a maritime power. So as a tech startup, one of our first customer in public sector, in port as an industry domain, is India's largest port. You can understand what is the potential.
Correct.
And I must say and thank this government that in their public procurement policy, they also have created, a caveat for Tech India startup, that how can they be also in the mainstream. So, if you are wanting to participate with Digital India initiatives, there are lots of avenues. But what happens is that if you are only obsessed and aspired for, building some VC-led business models and you are looking at only the Western market, probably this is not the ground for you.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, where we are playing, where there is a, bigger futuristic appetite. Now, when we choose that as a business, what is really rewarding? That when I will potentially hang up my boots in my career, and when you look back, this also gives us a reason that what we have done for our own nation. And when I say that, okay, this is what we want to contribute in Digital India movement, I already decoded that Digital India is bridging the gap between India and Bharat.
Yeah.
So future is not going to be urban and rural, because everybody in rural also has the mobile devices on 5G,
yeah.
and probably they are churning out more reels than you.
Yeah.
So that is a digital appetite. We just have to give them the context, reasoning and purpose, so that it is creating some purposeful, meaningful, lasting value.
Correct. So what is your advice to, let's say, a Punekar now, youth Punekar who's aspiring to, who has already begun his journey of trying to find his sweet spot of his career and trying to begin his entrepreneurial journey?
Okay. Well, let me correct your question, because Punekars don't need advice. They only follow their instincts.
Yeah.
But jokes apart, my probably advice to young entrepreneurs, young professionals who are aspiring career, not only in tech sector, because tech is gone everywhere. In fact, find your niche. Also think about what is your real passion. And then take one problem with that passion and a skill which is worth solving.
Okay.
and how can you solve that problem globally. So think
Like
about
data
that
was
scale.
your passion, right?
Yeah, that gives us an ability to look at certain things from that dimension.
Yeah.
And from that data, see, that was an interest, right? So I started getting into data business, but then I realized that okay, there is a need for such kind of an innovative machine learning and AI platform. So when I looked at it from the product lens, I realized that during the gold rush, we are not running for gold, we are supplying excavators. So that actually becomes a co-creation. So when I see the future of AI, we are co-creators with these innovators, R&D professionals, startups, enterprises. When they want to run their AI workloads, they definitely need tool sets and not only the infrastructure.
Correct.
Right? So in that, how are you imagining your idea for creating a better socio-economic impact? Then you have the academia on one side, your government on other side, industry on other side, and then your idea that can actually help you in connecting these dots. So my advice, I'm not that old or accomplished, I would say, that I can start advising
Again, the
people.
humble side of you.
But my advice to them is that take up one idea and if possible make that idea your life, because when you hang in there, you actually, when your search stops, your discovery starts. You can't be superficial to solve a problem and then aspiring for maybe $1 million gain only. And believe me, achieving $1 million valuation should not be the purpose of life. Don't work for valuation, work for values. Think about more than profits. What is the purpose? Because in down times, whether it is recession, whether it is global uncertainties, it is your passion, it is your clarity of purpose that will keep you going. And then if you hang in there, you can do wonders. Because you are going, it's like thinking like a farmer. If the tree has to grow taller, the roots have to go deeper.
Correct.
And what can help you go deeper is only your own interest, instinct, your commitment level. You don't want to, give up easily. The second advice that I will give is, always think of how can you be part of the team and winning team. It's a team sport. Don't think about your idea, your startup, your valuation in isolation.
Yeah.
Think about how do you become partner with your customer business, bringing in innovation and acceleration.
Yeah.
Always be creative, innovative with your learnability. Because many times people think that, okay, I know this and let me just encash and then, do nothing. So what happens is that your ideation died too early.
Yeah.
I gave you some glimpse about how we were ideating, building some tech product. Now that tech product today becomes a starting point when we are getting into the game of solving some problem, say for example, manufacturing industry with visual quality control.
Correct.
When we want to take the AI application to a bank with their CCTV analytics, how can we help them in solving some problems? So what happens with your knowledge, you can actually participate in many innovation or problem solving initiatives, right?
Got it.
Neighbor is the enemy is another free advice that I would like to give. Because what happens is that whether you are a young professional or you are a startup, more than what you internalize, you are always thinking at some other examples and saying, oh, he has done it this way, and then you think that okay, that is a better way to do it. Just because somebody has actually got a swanky valuation and he has bought a private yacht or a BMW, and then you think that okay, this is what I want to pursue. Understand, these attractions make you fall for your short-term goals.
Got it.
Learn to romance with the risk. And what is your risk? You don't have to get into the legal risk or financial risk. But if you are actually thinking and ideating for future, understand, if you can exist and survive, you can do incredible things. Startups need that thinking more. Think like a startup and be like a startup. Today what has happened is that, through some TV programs or through some misleading information about the startups, people think if I'm a startup, I need a swanky office, I need a big infrastructure, I need such a fat check as a CEO. Now I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's for a particular class, right, of a startups. Also look at what is the failure rate of a startups globally and in India. And they are scary numbers.
Yeah.
If you look at last 12 to 18 months, the startups closing down in India is also rising. It's because people are jumping into the
bandwagon.
They're jumping into the well without understanding whether there is enough water.
Everybody is on the startup bandwagon, right?
Absolutely. So it's not that, again, neighbor is an enemy.
Yeah.
If you're getting into the startup, do I have an appetite for it? Do I want to do it solo? Do I want to do it with team? And how do I solve that problem of who is the key stakeholder? These are very important things. And when you plan it better, it's like you're going for a team sport.
Yeah, got it. Thanks. These were like amazing insights. I usually end this this podcast with one question about Pune. So something interesting and something very native to you about Pune, which you would want to share, and anything. It could be anything under the sun.
Well, I mean, how can I describe it? I mean, one word says it all, that once Punekar, always Punekar, right? But let me, when I actually talk to my young teams, I always give them this philosophy of Janma Bhumi and Karma Bhumi, right? It's actually not about Pune as, I take immense pride in being Punekar because I'm born here.
Correct.
But if somebody is coming here, we embrace them as, the aspiring Punekars, where this is their Karma Bhumi.
Yeah, me one of them.
So some people probably might have been born somewhere else, but when they're coming here, see, this city has its own culture.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
It takes some time for people to understand the love and affection of Punekars in their way to speak or the Pune sarcasm that you can say. So if you want to really get familiar, with the Pune, Punekars are most important ingredient. It's not about the road rail infrastructure. It's not about whether we have an airport or no. But more than that, the Punekars are the heart and soul of Pune as a city.
Yeah.
But this is a actually gifted city. It has a very rich cultural heritage. Buying a house in Pune, you don't become Punekar. If you want to be Punekar, you really want to understand the essence of it.
Yeah. Absorb the culture.
Absolutely. So, Software Exporters Association of Pune. So, software is happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Exports is also happening everywhere. But from Pune, it has to happen. What is the potential? If you see the statistics in last 5 years, the number of startups that are coming up from Pune is the highest in the country. If you look at what our state chief minister is doing, is putting AI on the topmost agenda by creating facilities and infrastructure, actually, so to say, a land and real estate for tech companies, future tech companies. How can Maharashtra become a data center capital, computational infrastructure that we are talking about? Now, if these two problems are solved, or if that is being brought in as the policy level advantage to the aspiring tech startups, then it has to be your genius, right? How can you come out with breakthrough ideas and innovation and take innovations from Pune to everywhere, right? So what I would really like to see Pune doing is that if you go by one of the BBC survey, they actually mentioned in one of their survey findings was that Pune is the most foodie place. The per capita people eating outside with choice and as a hobby is highest in Pune.
Yeah.
So because there is a student population, young people, and people generally love street food here, so it is known as a foodie city.
It's always been like that, right?
It has always been like that. So how can we make this as the technology blend, that artificial intelligence to the natural intelligence? This city has a potential.
Correct.
And on a sign-off note, if you actually see that the artificial intelligence term was coined quite some time back, if you trace the historical innovations, right? The first human bones, the way they were marked in the history and they are found, that goes at least thousands of years back, and that actually had applied the annotation techniques on the human bone as a reference for the future research.
Okay.
Now in that context is the same technique that you are using in artificial intelligence today. That how you create a knowledge, how do you take the notes and how you carry forward with it, and how you want to process that as an information. So if you combine the artificial intelligence with the history and the science, Pune, I think, has a huge potential to contribute as India's one of the leading city, because you have this as an education capital. There's a good manufacturing hub. India's tech power, whether it is GCC or captive centers, it's second largest in India. So, and if you look at the water, weather, Pune has a lot, one of the best cities to live in. So, if you put all these things combined together, Punekars should think of next 25 years. What is the innovation? What is the socio-economic impact they want to create from here to the world? Pune also has started the Asia dialogue in Pune, right? Mm-hmm. So how can we have Pune Economic Forum? Maybe eventually it is becoming the signature identity of the city. And hence I would also like to thank and congratulate SEEP for doing so many good initiatives for the Pune tech community. It has a huge potential to catalyze this impact and make a difference in the society.
Thanks, Prashant. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you here, and I hope you liked talking to us, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, and it has always been a pleasure to be part of the SEEP community, and thank you for this particular podcast to help us reflect some of the thoughts so that we can give some guiding light to the young generations. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us in another episode of Pulse of Tech by SEEP. Please like, share and subscribe. Until we meet you the next time. Thank you.